I'm 42. Married for 11 years. 2 kids. A mortgage. A life that, until recently, felt painfully ordinary in the way I used to think was safe. This is hard to write, mostly because I've never said it all out loud. Not like this. I'm posting anonymously because I don't know where else to put it. I feel like if I don't spill it somewhere, it's going to rot inside me. My wife and I met in our late 20s. She was warm, funny, a little secretive, but in a way I found intriguing back then. We built a life the boring, responsible way. Jobs, kids, routines. Sunday dinners. Complaints about being tired. Normal stuff. I trusted her. Completely. I didn't check her phone. I didn't ask questions when she went out with friends. I thought that meant I was a good partner. I thought trust was something you just gave, not something you monitored. If you had asked me a year ago if my wife was cheating, I would have laughed. Not defensively. Genuinely. I would have said, "No way. She wouldn't do that. Not to us." Life felt stable. Maybe a little dull, but solid. We argued about money sometimes, about parenting, about stupid things like whose turn it was to buy groceries. Nothing that felt like a warning sign. I didn't know yet that there was literally 100,000 euros hidden in our living room sofa. I didn't know it wasn't ours. And I didn't know that the woman I shared a bed with every night was carrying someone else's secrets, and someone else's money, right under my body while I slept. Looking back now, I hate how obvious some things seem. At the time, they felt like nothing. Or worse, like things I should respect. My wife started changing about 2 years ago. Subtle at first. New clothes. A new interest in going to the gym. She started caring more about how she looked even on days she wasn't going anywhere special. I remember thinking it was good for her. Healthy. I even encouraged it. She became more protective of her phone. Not dramatically. Just little things. Turning the screen away. Taking calls in another room. Smiling at messages and then immediately locking the phone when I walked in. I noticed. I also ignored it. There were nights she'd come home late and say work had been stressful, that she just needed to decompress with a glass of wine alone. I told myself everyone needs space. That marriage doesn't mean constant togetherness. Emotionally, she was distracted. Present but not really there. Sometimes distant, sometimes overly affectionate in a way that felt almost compensatory. I didn't have the language for that feeling back then. We stopped talking deeply. Not intentionally. It just faded. Conversations became logistical. Kids. Bills. Schedules. I assumed this was just what long-term marriage looked like. I trusted her because I needed to. Because questioning her would mean questioning my entire life. There were moments I felt a knot in my stomach. A quiet voice saying something was off. I buried it under rational explanations. I told myself I was being paranoid, insecure, dramatic. I loved her. I still do, which somehow makes this worse. If I had pushed harder, asked more questions, maybe I would have known sooner. Or maybe I would have just delayed the inevitable. Either way, I didn't see the red flags as warnings. I saw them as inconveniences to my peace. The turning point wasn't dramatic. No lipstick on collars. No explicit texts popping up in front of me. It was the sofa. We were redecorating the living room. Nothing fancy. Just a new couch cover because the kids had destroyed the old one. On a random Saturday, I started lifting the cushions to vacuum underneath. I felt something hard inside the frame. Not part of the sofa. Not wood. Something packed. At first, I honestly thought it was a toy. Or something one of the kids shoved in there years ago. I reached in and pulled out a tightly wrapped bundle. Cash. I froze. I remember my heart starting to pound so hard it felt like it was pressing against my throat. I pulled out another bundle. And another. I counted. Slowly. With shaking hands. 100,000 euros. Exactly? My first thought wasn't infidelity. It was fear. Drugs? Crime? Debt collectors? I ran through every worst-case scenario my brain could produce. When my wife came home later that afternoon, I was sitting on the couch, the money laid out on the coffee table like evidence. She stopped dead in the doorway. The look on her face is burned into my brain. Not confusion. Not anger. Panic. She didn't ask where I found it. She didn't ask why I was going through the sofa. She just stared at the money like it had betrayed her. "What is this?" I asked. She opened her mouth, closed it, then sat down and started crying. That's when I knew this wasn't just about money. I asked again, calmly at first. "Whose money is this?" She kept crying, saying she didn't want to hurt me, that she never planned for me to find out like this. That sentence alone made my stomach drop. Finally, between sobs, she said, "It's not mine." I pressed her. Harder now, my voice shaking. "Then whose is it?" She whispered his name. A man I vaguely knew. A friend, from work she mentioned a few times over the years. Someone I'd never met but had no reason to suspect. "He asked me to keep it safe," she said. "Just temporarily." I remember laughing. Not because it was funny. Because it was absurd. "You're hiding 100,000 euros in our sofa for another man?" She nodded. Couldn't look at me. That's when the truth started spilling out, piece by piece, like she was pulling shards of glass out of her own chest and handing them to me. They'd been having an affair for over a year. The money was his. Cash he didn't want connected to his name during a divorce. And she agreed to hide it. For him. In our home. In our sofa. I felt like the walls were bending inward. Like nothing solid existed anymore. I don't remember standing up, but suddenly I was pacing the room. My hands were shaking so badly I had to clench them into fists. An affair is one thing. It's devastating, but it's something I could at least conceptually understand. People get lonely. People make terrible choices. But this? This felt deeper. More calculated. More intimate. "You brought his money into our house," I said. "Into the place where our children sit." She kept saying she was sorry. Over and over. Like the word had lost all meaning. She said she felt trapped. That he pressured her. That she was scared to say no. Then she said something that shattered me even more. "He trusted me." I snapped. "Trusted you more than your own husband?" She tried to explain how it just happened. How it started emotionally. How she felt invisible at home. How she didn't think it would go this far. I wanted to scream that I was right there. That I had built a life with her. That invisibility doesn't justify betrayal. Instead, I felt numb. Like I was watching someone else's nightmare. I kept thinking about all the times I sat on that sofa. Watching TV with her. Falling asleep next to her. Laughing. While his money was hidden inches away. I felt humiliated. Like an idiot. Like the safest place in my life had been turned into a storage locker for someone else's secrets. That night I slept in the car. I couldn't bear to be in that house. The days after were a blur. I went to work on autopilot. Smiled at coworkers. Answered emails. Meanwhile, my chest felt like it was constantly collapsing inward. My wife kept texting. Apologizing. Begging me to come home so we could talk like adults. I didn't even know what that meant anymore. When I did finally come back, the money was gone. She said she'd returned it to him. That didn't make me feel better. It made it worse. I kept replaying everything. Every late night. Every work meeting. Every moment I brushed off my intuition. I felt complicit in my own betrayal. We talked for hours. Days, really. Long, painful conversations that went in circles. She cried. I stayed mostly quiet. When I did speak, my words came out sharp and cruel. I asked questions I didn't want answers to. How often? Where? Did she love him? She said she didn't know? That it wasn't love. That it was an escape. That word still haunts me. I asked if she would have ever told me. She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. I felt stupid for trusting her. Ashamed for not seeing it. Angry at myself for still caring. Some part of me wanted to fix it. Another part wanted to burn everything down and walk away. I didn't know which voice to listen to. The confrontation with him came later. I didn't plan it. It just happened. I saw his car outside a cafe near my office. My hands started sweating instantly. Before I could talk myself out of it, I walked in. I recognized him immediately. He looked normal. Boring, even. That somehow made it worse. I sat across from him without asking. He looked confused, then pale when he realized who I was. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten him. I just said, "You used my house as your safe." He stammered excuses. Said he never meant to hurt anyone. That their relationship was complicated. That my wife made her own choices. I wanted to hit him. I didn't. I just stood up and said, "Stay away from my family." He nodded like a scared child. That interaction gave me no closure. No relief. It just reinforced how small and messy everything was. Back home, my wife was terrified when she found out I'd seen him. She accused me of risking everything. I laughed. Everything was already gone. We started couples therapy. Not because I was sure I wanted to stay, but because I didn't know how to leave. Therapy cracked things open in ways I wasn't prepared for. Old resentments. Unspoken disappointments. Years of silence disguised as peace. I learned how lonely she felt. She learned how unseen I'd been too. None of it excused what she did. But it complicated my anger. Some days I hated her. Other days I missed her even while sitting across from her. The kids noticed the tension. They asked why Dad was sleeping in the guest room. Why Mom cried so much. We lied. Badly. I started having panic attacks. Random moments where my heart would race and my vision would blur. I'd think about the sofa and feel sick. Money became a trigger. Trust became a joke. I checked her phone now. She let me. That didn't feel like winning. It felt like losing slowly. Friends noticed something was wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to tell them. I was ashamed. Not of her, of myself. Some nights, I imagined starting over. A small apartment. Quiet. No secrets in the furniture. Other nights, I imagined forgiving her completely. Pretending none of it happened. Neither fantasy felt real. The consequences kept unfolding, even months later. Her affair partner's divorce got ugly. Lawyers. Accusations. At one point, my wife was contacted as a potential witness because of the money. That was the moment I truly broke. The betrayal wasn't contained to our marriage anymore. It was spilling outward, threatening to stain everything. I told her I couldn't do it anymore. That I needed space. Real space. I moved out temporarily. Rented a small place across town. The silence there was deafening. I missed my kids terribly. I missed the version of my wife I thought I knew. But I also felt lighter. Like I could breathe without wondering what else was hidden. She begged me not to give up. Promised transparency. Promised change. Promised therapy forever if that's what it took. I didn't know if promises meant anything anymore. People say time heals. I think time just makes the pain more familiar. We tried reconciliation. Slowly. Carefully. Like walking on glass. Some days were almost normal. Laughing over dinner. Watching a show together. For a moment I'd forget. Then something small would trigger me. A couch in a furniture store. A pile of cash in a movie. Her phone buzzing. I'd spiral. Shut down. Accuse her of things she hadn't done. She carried guilt like a shadow. I carried resentment like a weapon. We were both exhausted. Eventually, we admitted something painful. Love wasn't enough anymore. Trust hadn't just cracked. It had shattered. We decided to separate permanently. Not out of hatred. Out of survival. Telling the kids was the moment I dreaded more than discovering the money, more than confronting her, more than signing any paperwork. Nothing prepares you for watching your children try to understand a truth you don't fully understand yourself. We sat them down at the kitchen table. The same table where we used to do homework, eat pancakes on Saturdays, plan holidays we never took. My wife's hands were shaking. Mine were clenched so tight I thought my nails might break skin. We kept it simple. Or at least we tried. Mom and Dad are going to live in different houses, I said. We both love you. That will never change. They didn't cry immediately. That was almost worse. They just stared. Processing. My oldest asked if it was because they were bad. I felt something tear open inside my chest. I told them no. Over and over. I told them this was about adults making adult mistakes. I didn't mention betrayal. Or money. Or lies hidden in furniture. Later that night, after they went to bed, I sat alone in the living room. On that sofa. I ran my hand along the fabric, knowing exactly where the money had been hidden. I felt disgusted and nostalgic at the same time. We sold the house faster than I expected. Buyers came in, admired the space, sat on the couch without knowing what it once held. I wondered how many families had their own secrets embedded in their walls, their floors, their furniture. I didn't take much with me when I moved out. Clothes. Books. A few personal things. I left behind the couch, the bed, most of the life we built together. Starting over at 42 is humbling. Dating apps feel like foreign territory. Everyone seems younger, lighter, less damaged. I don't know how to explain my past without sounding broken. But there's also a strange calm now. No more waiting for the next lie. No more second-guessing every smile. The house is gone. The sofa is gone. But the memory of it still follows me. Sometimes I torture myself with hypotheticals. I know it's unhealthy, but my brain goes there anyway. What if I never lifted that cushion? What if the money stayed hidden for another year? 2 years? Forever? Would she have ended the affair on her own? Would guilt have eventually eaten her alive? Or would she have grown better at hiding things, more confident in my blindness? I picture an alternate version of my life where I'm still married, still unaware. Sitting on that sofa every night, watching TV, complaining about work, believing I was safe. Was that version of me happier? Or just ignorant? People like to say the truth is always better. I'm not sure that's entirely true. Sometimes the truth just replaces one illusion with a harder reality. The moment I found the money plays in my head like a looped video. My hand reaching inside the sofa. The unexpected resistance. The first bundle of cash coming out. That moment split my life cleanly into before and after. Before, I believed trust was passive. Something you gave and never revisited. After, I understand trust as something fragile, active, constantly negotiated. I still catch myself scanning rooms unconsciously. Checking drawers. Lifting cushions. I hate that part of myself now, but I also understand why it exists. Betrayal rewires you. I didn't just lose my marriage that day. I lost my sense of reality. The confidence that I knew the person sleeping next to me. The comfort of shared history. Some days I feel grateful I found out. Other days I wish I'd stayed ignorant a little longer, just to breathe easier. Both feelings can exist at the same time. That's something no one tells you. When people hear fragments of this story, they usually expect me to hate her. Sometimes they want me to. Anger makes things simpler. Cleaner. But I don't hate her. That confuses even me. I hate the choices she made. I hate the deception. I hate the fact that she brought another man's secrets into our home, into our shared space, into the heart of our family. But I can't erase the years that came before. The laughter, The support. The nights we stayed up talking about our fears and dreams. The way she held my hand when my father died. Love doesn't disappear just because trust does. That's one of the cruelest parts of betrayal. You don't get the satisfaction of clean emotional lines. Everything overlaps. Love, anger, grief, longing. I also can't fully escape my own role in this. Not responsibility. What she did was her choice, but awareness. I ignored signs because it was easier. I chose comfort over curiosity. Peace over honesty. I mistook stability for intimacy. That doesn't mean I deserved what happened. But it does mean I've learned something painful about myself. Trust should never mean disengagement. It should mean openness, communication, and the courage to ask uncomfortable questions. I trusted her, yes. But I also stopped truly seeing her. And she stopped seeing me. That gap didn't cause the affair. But it became the space where it grew. Accepting that complexity doesn't excuse her. It just keeps me from turning this story into a simple villain narrative. Real life is messier than that. I'm still unpacking the aftermath, piece by piece. Therapy helps, but it's not a magic fix. It just gives me language for things I'd rather avoid. Some nights, I dream about the sofa. Not always the money. Sometimes I'm just sitting on it, feeling something solid underneath, knowing it's there, choosing not to look. I wake up drenched in sweat, heart racing, with this overwhelming sense of dread, like I'm back in that moment before everything collapsed. Healing isn't dramatic. There's no single breakthrough where everything suddenly makes sense. It's slow. Embarrassingly slow. Some days I feel strong and grounded. Other days, a random smell or sound sends me spiraling. A couch in a furniture store. A headline about infidelity. A stack of banknotes in a movie scene. I'm learning to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. To let the memories exist without letting them control me. I'm also learning how much of my identity was wrapped up in being the stable one. The husband who had everything under control. Losing that version of myself hurt almost as much as losing the marriage. But maybe that version was always fragile. There's something honest about starting from scratch. About admitting you don't have all the answers. About letting yourself be vulnerable again, even when it's terrifying. I'm not healed. But I'm healing. And that has to be enough for now. If there's any lesson in all of this, and I hesitate to call it a lesson, because that makes it sound neat, it's that secrets are never as contained as we think. They leak. They rot. They change the shape of everything around them. I lost a wife. I lost a home. I lost a future I thought was guaranteed. I also lost my innocence. The belief that love alone is protection. The idea that commitment automatically means honesty. What I gained is harder to explain. A sharper sense of self. A deeper respect for truth, even when it's brutal. An understanding that safety isn't something someone gives you. It's something you help create together. I still carry the weight of that 100,000 euros, even though it was never mine. It sits in my chest like a reminder of how close betrayal can be, how quietly it can exist, hidden in plain sight. Some betrayals don't end when the affair ends. They echo. They reshape you. They follow you into new rooms, new relationships, new versions of yourself. I don't know what my future looks like yet. I just know I'm done ignoring my instincts. Done sitting on uncomfortable truths because it's easier than standing up. If you're reading this and something in your life feels off, don't dismiss it too quickly. Don't bury it under routine and trust and hope. I did. And it cost me everything I thought I knew.